What if the most generous thing you have ever done in your life was actually the thing destroying you? What if every time you said yes when your soul screamed no, you were not being kind, you were slowly erasing yourself? What if the people you have bent yourself backwards for, the ones you stayed up for, cried for, sacrificed for, what if they were only there because you never stopped giving? And what if the moment you finally stopped, the silence would break your heart but save your life? Because here's the truth no one tells you: when you stop overgiving, you do not lose people, you lose illusions. And what replaces them is something so rare, so real, so undeniably powerful that it will change everything about how you love, how you live, and how you see yourself. Stay with me, because what I am about to share is not just a message, it is a mirror. And sometimes looking into a mirror is the bravest thing a human being can do. This is about the moment you stop overgiving and finally see who really cares. What if everything you were taught about love was slightly, dangerously wrong? What if the very thing you were praised for, your generosity, your selflessness, your endless availability, was quietly, invisibly, methodically burning you down to nothing? What if the relationships you have poured your whole heart into were never built on love at all, but on a silent, unspoken contract that said, you give, I take, and we call it connection? Sit with that for a moment, because I need you to feel the weight of this question before we go any further. There is a particular kind of person in this world, and perhaps you are one of them, who gives and gives and gives, not because they have too much, but because somewhere deep inside, they believe that if they stop giving, they will stop being loved. They answer every text at midnight. They show up even when their own world is falling apart. They say, I am fine, while quietly drowning. They give advice they themselves need. They celebrate others in their darkest moments of their own pain. And they do all of this with a smile so convincing that nobody ever thinks to ask, but who is taking care of you? This is not strength. This is survival dressed up as generosity. And it is one of the most heartbreaking patterns a human being can carry. Research in human connection and shame tells us something that cuts right to the bone. The people most likely to overgive are the people most terrified of being seen as not enough. They have learned somewhere along the way, often in childhood, often in relationships that should have been safe, that their value is directly tied to their usefulness, that love is something you earn, not something you deserve simply by existing, that if you stop being everything to everyone, you will become nothing to anyone. And so they give. They give endlessly. They give until they are hollow. They give until the giving itself becomes a kind of grief. But here is where it gets extraordinary. The moment, the exact, terrifying, liberating moment you decide to stop, the moment you set a boundary for the first time, the moment you say, I cannot do this right now, the moment you choose your own peace over someone else's comfort, that moment is not the end of your relationships. That moment is a revelation, because when the giving stops, the truth begins. And the truth is this: some people in your life were never connected to you. They were connected to your output. They were not in love with who you are. They were in love with what you do. And the second you stop performing that function, they begin to drift. First slowly, then suddenly. Texts become less frequent. Calls stop coming. The warmth that once felt so real begins to feel like it was always dependent on a transaction you were too tired and too loving to recognize as such. And yes, this hurts. It hurts in a way that has no adequate words, because you gave those people everything. You gave them your time when you had none. You gave them your energy when you were running on empty. You gave them pieces of yourself you will never fully get back. And to watch them walk away the moment you stopped giving feels like the cruelest confirmation of every fear you ever had, that you were never enough, that you were only loved for what you provided, that without your giving you are alone. But I need you to hear me very clearly right now. Their leaving is not proof of your worthlessness. Their leaving is proof of their limitations. Their leaving is the most honest thing they have ever done for you, because they have shown you without apology or explanation that the relationship was always conditional. And conditional love, love that requires you to continuously earn it, continuously perform for it, continuously shrink and sacrifice for it, that is not love, that is a contract. And you deserve so much more than a contract. Understanding vulnerability in the deepest sense shows us something that changes everything about how we relate to one another. Vulnerability is not just about giving your heart away. Vulnerability, real vulnerability, is about being willing to receive. It is about being willing to say, I need something too. It is about resisting the armor of endless giving and allowing yourself to be held, to be seen, not for what you do, but for who you are. And this is the hardest thing for the overgiver to do, because the overgiver has built their entire identity around being the one who never needs, the one who is always strong, the one who holds everything together while everything inside them is falling apart. To receive feels like weakness, to ask feels like burden, To stop giving feels like failure. But none of that is true. The truth is that the ability to receive is an act of profound courage. It requires you to believe in the deepest part of yourself that you are worth receiving from, that your needs matter, that your exhaustion is valid, that you are allowed to have limits, that you are allowed to be human, fully, beautifully, imperfectly human, without owing anyone an explanation for it. And when you begin to live that truth, something remarkable starts to happen. The landscape of your life begins to shift. People you barely noticed before start stepping forward. The friend who texts not to ask a favor, but just to check if you ate today. The person who sits with you in silence because they know sometimes silence is enough. The one who remembers what you told them 3 months ago and asks about it now, not because they want something, but because they genuinely care. These people were always there. But you were so busy being everything to everyone else that you did not have the space or the stillness to notice them. When you stop overgiving, you do not end up with less. You end up with truth. You end up with fewer people, yes, but people who are real. People who are present not because of what you give them, but because of who you are when you give them nothing at all. And that is the kind of love worth having. That is the kind of circle worth protecting. That is the kind of connection that actually heals you instead of draining you. There is something else that happens when you stop overgiving, something quieter and perhaps more important than all of the above. You begin to reconnect with yourself. Because here is what years of overgiving does. It makes you a stranger to your own needs. You become so attuned to everyone else's emotions, everyone else's crises, everyone else's needs, that you lose the ability to hear your own. You stop knowing what you want. You stop knowing what brings you joy. You stop knowing where the real you ends and the performance of you begins. Setting boundaries is not about building walls around your heart. It is about building a foundation under your feet so you finally have somewhere solid to stand. A boundary says, I matter too. A boundary says, my energy is not infinite and that is okay. A boundary says, I can love you and still protect myself at the same time. And the people who respect that, the people who say, of course, take care of yourself, those are the people who actually see you. Those are the people who are worth staying for. Worthiness, the fundamental human question of whether we are enough, cannot be answered through sacrifice. You cannot give your way into feeling worthy. You cannot exhaust your way into feeling loved. Worthiness is not something you earn on the other side of enough giving. It is something you claim in the quiet, difficult, revolutionary act of deciding that you are enough right now exactly as you are before you give a single thing to anyone. And the moment you claim that, the moment you plant your feet in that truth, your entire relationship with the people around you transforms. Some will not be able to handle it. Some will call you selfish. Some will say you have changed, and they will be right, you have changed. You have changed from someone who gave to be loved into someone who loves from a place of genuine fullness. You have changed from someone who feared abandonment into someone who trusts themselves enough to survive it. You have changed from someone who wore giving as armor into someone who can show up, truly show up without needing to be everything to do it. That is not losing yourself. That is finding yourself. And finding yourself after years of being lost in the service of everyone else is one of the most profound and sacred acts of courage any human being can undertake. So let me leave you with this. Stop waiting for the right moment to begin choosing yourself. Stop waiting until you have given enough, sacrificed enough, proven enough. The right moment is the moment you decide it is. The people who truly love you, the ones who are meant to be in your life, not for what you do, but for who you are, those people will not leave when you start choosing yourself. They will celebrate it. They will breathe a sigh of relief that you are finally okay. They will say, I was waiting for you to do this. They will hold the space for your growth because they were always rooting for your wholeness, not your depletion. And the ones who leave, let them go with love, with grace, and without chasing. Because their departure is not your punishment, it is your permission. Permission to finally, fully, unapologetically be yourself. Permission to stop performing and start living. Permission to stop giving from fear and start loving from freedom. When you stop overgiving, you do not lose love. You lose the illusion of it. And what stands in its place is something so solid, so real, so rare, that it will take your breath away. You will finally see who really cares. And more importantly, you will finally begin to care for yourself. This speech is a reminder that your generosity is one of your greatest gifts, but only when it comes from wholeness and not from fear. The journey from overgiving to authentic connection is not easy. It will cost you relationships that were never truly yours to begin with. It will demand that you sit in uncomfortable silence and resist the urge to fill it with sacrifice. It will ask you to believe in your own worth before anyone else confirms it. But on the other side of that courage lives something extraordinary: clarity, peace, and the kind of love that does not require you to disappear to deserve it. Real connection begins where performance ends. And your real people, the ones who stay, who show up, who see you, they are waiting for the real you, not the one who gives endlessly, the one who simply exists beautifully and bravely as enough.